dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking the wild, fascinating story of Zahir ad-Din Muhammad Babur, a man who literally rose from absolute crushing defeat to found the mighty Mughal Empire in India. It is this incredible saga of resilience, brilliant military strategy, and, of course, the incredibly harsh realities of medieval statecraft.
I mean, think about it. How exactly does a homeless prince end up forging an empire that lasts for 3 centuries? It's the ultimate underdog to overlord story. How does someone who completely loses their ancestral home manage to plant the flag for a dynasty that would shape the Indian subcontinent for hundreds of years? To really grasp this, we have to look at how sheer willpower, when you combine it with disruptive military innovation, can completely overturn the status quo of an entire region.
And just to make sure our foundations are rock solid today, we are pulling our facts straight from Dr. Pooja Prana's research in the Journal of Advanced and Future Research. This ensures we're getting the exact, fact-checked historical context of Babur's life, his intense battles, and his very complex legacy.
Okay, let's start at the beginning, with Section 1, The Prince Without a Kingdom and His Early Struggles.
It's a story of massive contrasts. On one hand, you've got this guy with an absolute elite conqueror's bloodline. He's literally descended from Timur on his father's side and Genghis Khan on his mother's. You'd think he was set for life, but his actual reality, way harsher. Born in the Fergana Valley, he loses his ancestral kingdom at a really young age. He tries to capture the prosperous city of Samarkand but completely fails to hold on to it. Thanks to the rising power of the Uzbeks under Shaybani Khan, Babur gets pushed entirely into exile. He had the ambitions of an emperor, but the actual resources of a wanderer.
Now, a lot of leaders would just fade into obscurity after losing their homeland like that, but not Babur. Rather than throwing in the towel, he pivots. By 1504, he manages to capture Kabul, which gives him a crucial new base of operations. But Central Asia is just too hot for him to hold, with the Uzbeks dominating the area. So, taking a page out of his ancestor Timur's playbook, he sets his sights southeast, right toward the wealthy, fertile lands of India.
Moving right along to Section 2, the fractured landscape of India before Babur arrived.
The absolutely crucial point here is that India was not some unified monolith just waiting to repel an invader. It was totally fractured. Up in North India, the Delhi Sultanate is practically crumbling from within under the rule of Ibrahim Lodi. And to put it mildly, Lodi was not winning any popularity contests. He managed to alienate his own Afghan nobles so badly that his regional governors were openly dissatisfied. Meanwhile, over to the west, powerful Rajput rulers, especially Rana Sanga of Mewar, were rapidly expanding their own influence. It was a classic chaotic power vacuum.
And here is where the door just completely swings open. Babur didn't even have to knock. Disgruntled nobles from within India essentially handed him the key. They actively invited Babur to cross the mountains and overthrow their own ruler. They basically thought they could use this outside force to get rid of a bad king. But, spoiler alert, they severely underestimated Babur's intention to stay.
Which brings us to the main event. Section 3, the Gunpowder Revolution at the Battle of Panipat.
It's April 21st, 1526, the first Battle of Panipat. We've got a classic David versus Goliath set up here. Babur rolls up with a much smaller force, but he brings a massive disruptive innovation to the battlefield: advanced gunpowder weapons. We're talking cannons and matchlocks. On the flip side, Ibrahim Lodi has this massive, overwhelming army, but it's fundamentally outdated. It lacks coordination and, crucially, zero modern artillery. But you know, his real genius wasn't just having the fancy new weapons. It was exactly how he used them. He deployed this incredibly sophisticated formation known as the Tulugma system. This meant dividing his army into highly specialized sections: left, right, center, and flanking units. While his cannons created absolute terrifying chaos in the center, his fast, mobile cavalry swept around the edges, entirely enveloping Lodi's massive army. Babur essentially engineered a deadly trap that squeezed a much larger force to death.
And through sheer brains and superior tech, Babur pulls off a stunning victory. Ibrahim Lodi isn't just defeated, he's killed right there on the battlefield. Babur immediately marches forward, captures the grand cities of Delhi and Agra, and with that single decisive clash, the Delhi Sultanate is shattered. That is the official beginning of Mughal rule in India.
Now for Section 4, securing the empire and consolidating all that new power. Because getting the throne is one thing, keeping it is quite another. Defeating Lodi was literally just step one. The very next year, in 1527, he's up against the incredibly brave Rajput cavalry at the Battle of Kanwa.
But Babur counters their sheer bravery with disciplined formations and the non-stop fire of his cannons. Then, fast forward to 1529 at the Battle of Gagra, he faces down the remaining Afghan resistance in the east. In just 3 years, Babur systematically dismantles every major regional power to become the undisputed ruler of North India.
Finally, let's look at Section 5, the warrior poet's legacy and the man behind the empire.
The historical sources show us this really striking duality to the man. As a military commander, completely unmatched. He was highly adaptable, courageous, just a brilliant tactician. But administratively, not so much. Because he literally spent all his time fighting wars and securing borders, his administrative achievements were pretty limited. He just didn't have the time to build a uniform system of governance. Instead, he had to rely heavily on existing local rulers, zamindars, and his own nobles to manage everything, which was a pretty fragile setup. Yet, despite all that relentless warring, he wasn't just some brute conqueror. If you read his famous autobiography, the Baburnama, you see this deeply human side. The text reveals a resilient leader who, right in the middle of all this chaotic empire building, still took the time to write poetry, lay out these magnificent gardens, and genuinely admire nature and art. He was refreshingly honest about his failures and his deep homesickness for the landscapes of Central Asia. Symbolically, Babur essentially planted the foundational seed for a massive family tree. He died in 1530, just 4 years after Panipat, handing over this vast but incredibly shaky empire to his son, Humayun. Humayun would actually end up losing control of the empire for a bit due to internal drama before eventually winning it back. But the seed Babur planted, it was strong enough to survive the storm. It was ultimately his grandson, Akbar, who found the missing piece of the puzzle. While Babur carved out the geographic footprint and the military foundation, it was Akbar who brought the robust statecraft. He introduced effective administrative reforms, uniform taxation, and crucially, policies of religious tolerance that Babur never had the time to build. Akbar's work is what truly transformed Babur's military conquest into a deeply entrenched, stable state.
If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. Thank you for your support.